14 WILI and 95.3 FM presents Hometown Threads, a closer look at our community and the people that make it go. Every week, you'll hear uplifting stories from our local businesses and our neighbors. Now, here's our host for Hometown Threads, Keith C. Rice.
Welcome into episode 125 of Hometown Threads on 14 WILI and 95.3 FM and Willimantic Today Facebook and Spectrum 192. And of course, the WILI YouTube channel, which we encourage you each week to subscribe just by searching WILI Radio. And you can watch all our great talk shows on the YouTube channel. So you can watch it. And of course, only one way to listen. That's here on WILI. Of course, couldn't do Hometown Threads without Liberty Bank. Been with us since day one, back in November of 2022. Liberty Bank B, community kind with three great local locations across the street from the station at 679 Main Street. West Main Street down at 1703 West Main Street inside Gateway Commons, managed by some woman named Marianne. And up the street in Mansfield, Route 195 in Mansfield, Liberty Bank B, community kind. J. Matt Root Bar, if you'd be so kind, say hello to the fine folks.
Hello.
So big thanks to Liberty Bank, another sponsor, our podcast sponsor. That's right. Not only can you listen live to these shows and watch them on the WILI Radio YouTube channel, but you can go to WILI.com. There's a lot of our talk shows up there as well. Hometown Threads has a podcast sponsor, and that is Tripoli Pro Clean Services. So big shout out and thank you to Mark Tripoli. So here we go, episode 125. All in the family once again. We bring in the fourth. This has got to be a record. The fourth Valliere. I don't think, Matt, you've been with me since day one as well. We've had a lot of different family members in here. A lot of people from, just multiple family members. I don't recall having a fourth person from a family. This is so. Congratulations
Happy to be here.
To the Vallières.
Yes.
We got Rylee Valliere here. Let's see. First, we had Ken, who was your father, very well-known baseball player around here, and he's a ECSU assistant women's basketball coach.
Him, yep.
Got to book him for the Duncan Friday sports scene soon. We've had Rachel in here, Wyndham History and Textile Museum, right? And, of course, Dave, who's your uncle.
And my godfather.
And your godfather.
Yes, he'd be upset if you didn't say that, too. Yes,
Sorry,
also
David.
my godfather.
Helps,
yeah.
Mike.
It's a running joke now.
Oh, really? Okay.
He is actually my godfather, but it is like a little joke that we always say.
Hello to Godfather Dave.
Yes.
He helps run the French Club.
Yes.
We just had him in here recently.
Yep.
So, Rylee, congratulations on being the fourth Valliere.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Any
Thank you so
words
much.
on that?
No, not much. I mean, big family. We're very involved in our community.
You are.
Because where we're from, and we're happy to be on with Keith. Nowhere else we'd rather be, right?
Thank you. It's an honor to have all the Vallières.
Yes.
We'll have to have more Vallières in here. You never know.
Yeah.
Now, shout out. I know Ken's your father. I apologize. I think your mom is Julie, right?
Yep.
I remember.
Yep. That's my mom. Yep.
See, Facebook. You
Yeah.
remember names and stuff. So big shout out to Ken and Julie. It's a great job raising Rylee, who's becoming a well-known name in this community. So talk a little about your family first. Let's start there. We've talked a little about, I know I asked this a little while ago because you're a big supporter of, and we thank you for coming out to the events that we host at Fenton on Tuesday nights with Blackout Music Bingo and Trolley Pub Trivia.
Yes.
And I apologize. I know I asked this recently. You're not the oldest, are you the oldest?
I am the oldest. Yep, I am the oldest. Yep.
Okay, so
I have two younger brothers, Jack and Nick. Jack is in the middle, so he's just turned 21 actually, this in past November. And then my youngest brother, Nick, he's 18. He's just graduated from Wyndham High last year.
I have a feeling there's going to be more Vallières coming up. Jack's a baseball player, right? Well, no, he was.
He was, yep. So now Jack is going to school to be an electrician, so he'll be finishing up soon. He was actually the apprentice at Wyndham High, so that was a full circle moment.
No
So
kidding.
right after graduation, he was the student up at the high school while the renovations were going on. So he's making it for himself, that's for sure. So he's doing really well. And then Nick, he just graduated from high school last year, so he's still figuring himself out. He works with Jerry down at Duncan, and he does some extra things.
Wait a minute, that's a Duncan I go to all the time.
Yeah, he works on Jackson Street most of the time in the mornings.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I go to the one on South Wyndham all the time.
Yeah, no, yep. He works at the two ones in Willimantic, so the one on farther Main Street and then the one at Jackson Street.
Gotcha.
So
All right,
yeah, so they're good though. They're good. They we're a big family oriented group, so we do a lot of things together. We're each other's best friends. So
now let's talk a little about mom and dad for a second. Ken, I know he's a great, tremendous athlete, great coach. Works at Wyndham Hospital too, right?
Yep,
Is he still doing that?
Yep,
How
still
many years
works.
been doing that?
I don't know. I I would say probably at least 5 years. He
I thought
got.
it was longer than that. Really?
I want to say maybe a little bit longer. He got Public Safety Officer of the Year last year. Actually, he would never tell anyone, but he's very good at what he does. He's very personable. You know him, so that's like the best job made for him. Being at the front of the hospital, he sees so many people he knows, good and bad situations.
I think I was going to be able to get a bite to eat because we were talking. Like I was on my way to that little cafeteria. I was going in for some kind of checkup or something, and I got talking to your dad for the longest time, and I was like, wow, maybe I'll just skip the cafeteria and just talk to Dad and go right to my point.
Yeah, he loves his job. He comes home with stories just of people that he sees for a really long time. He hasn't seen them, and it makes him, I think it makes him really happy,
What about your mom?
Makes people. My mom, she's retired. So
What did she do?
She was a adult probation officer for the state of Connecticut. So she retired in 2018, I believe. So she's been retired for a handful of years now. So she didn't get another job. She stays at home. She she's been our handyman. She has done so many projects in the house and really refinished our entire house inside.
Really?
So yeah, it does stuff.
Wow.
We'll come home, there'll be a ginormous project started somewhere
Does she ever
outside.
rope you into it too? Come on, you
Oh yeah. We help her whenever we can. She'll have something going, and it always benefits all of us. So she does a really good job keeping herself busy.
You Values are unbelievable.
Yeah.
Really, and this is how your parents raised you, right? To get really involved with the community.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, God, from when we went to St. Mary's, obviously we didn't go.
I didn't know you went there.
Yeah. Yep. So me and my brothers went to St. Mary's, and then pre-K all the way to 8th grade. So we
Good
didn't
for
go
you.
to the elementary schools here in Windham, but obviously my parents had us involved in so many different things: sports, clubs. We did the little the cross-country races after school at the elementary schools, and so we made really good connections with people outside of just St. Mary's. Because it's very small. We had our same classmates.
So you must have been, because I know I'm way older than you, and I go back to the SMSJ days, and sadly, I left after 6. My siblings stayed, but I begged my parents to do Kramer, but I was just I was young and dumb back then.
Yeah.
But, with all due respect to Kramer, but anyway. What I want to ask you real quick, and we're going to get into Rylee, Valliere, I promise. But I'm asking you, were you one of the last few classes there before that?
My brother Nick was. My brother Jack was one of the last few graduating classes, and my brother Nick didn't end up graduating from there because it closed before. So my brother Nick did, I want to say, his full 8th grade year over at Windham Middle. So that was, I don't know, a handful of years ago, though. But yeah, Nick was one of the last classes to be there.
Boy, someday, keep your fingers crossed. I would love to see that school reopen.
Yeah. I didn't graduate from there. My parents took me out about 6 months left of 8th grade to go over to the middle school just to get kind of that experience with the transition from classes to classes, because we didn't really do any of that at St. Mary's. So.
Good idea.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into Rylee, Valliere, and why we brought her in here, because you're 22 years old, but you're already making such an incredible name for yourself because you've just joined, as of when, the Windham Prevention Coalition. And the way Rylee and I kind of connected through not just her coming out to Fenton or Trolley Pub, and we really kind of set this up back in, it was the end of October when we did National Drug Take Back Day over at Gilson Square. And that's what that's when I initially found out that you were connected or with the Windham Prevention Coalition, formerly Windham Pride. So how long have you been with the WPC?
So I started in my current role as prevention coordinator at the beginning of this year, due to some transitions within positions and budget and things like that. And then before that, though, I was the youth peer advocate. So I did a little part-time work with them while I was finishing up school. And then before that, I volunteered for about a year. So I want to say I've been under their mentorship for about maybe almost 2.5 years during volunteering and working all combined. So
you've been working your way up there. Of course,
in
Karen.
a way. Karen Ravenel-Bloom.
She's wonderful, isn't she?
Yeah, she's our director, so she runs the program, but she has been, I always say, one of the best mentors that I've ever had. So
she's kind of responsible for officially bringing you in, or?
Yep. So I reached out to them while I was in college still. So when I transferred back to Eastern, because I originally went to UHart for 2 years. My first 2 years of college.
We can get into this. You went to UHart, and then
and then I graduated from Eastern this past May. But when I transferred back home, I was looking for some things to do to get involved, and being away for 2 years was a long time for community involvement. So when I came back, I asked Karen if I could volunteer. I knew they did their summer youth leadership academy and things like that, and I was volunteering, and I've been kind of sticking around ever since, helping out with programming, helping out with the youth council with the kids, and now I'm where I am. So.
Fantastic. So When you were at UArt, were you still studying the same thing you did when you finished at Eastern, sociology? Or
Well, when I started off at UArt, I was a nursing major, so I went there for their nursing program. Yeah, and then I did that for about a year and a half, and then it just wasn't for me. I figured out that wasn't really where I was meant to be, so I transitioned to psychology and criminal justice, double majoring, and then when I transferred to Eastern, that's when I decided to do sociology and criminology. So I've always been in the same realm when I transferred, but when I first went to UArt, I was nursing, so very different.
were you completely now you're totally you nailed it with the sociology? Were you very happy with that? So we all do that. We all bounce around with trying to figure out what college is all about.
Yes,
trying to figure out, do I want to study this? What do I want to do with my career? But yeah, so when you got to towards the end of your studies at Eastern and you decided on sociology, you're very content with that, right?
Yeah, I was. I figured, like that gives me enough of a scope where I can kind of dip my toes into different waters, different jobs, different socioeconomic populations of people, things like that. So I really like what I decided to do, especially with the criminology factor. I was an intern at U.S. probation for almost a total year and a half. So I was up with working within the federal government, interning up there in Hartford.
Wow.
So I loved it. I loved every minute of it. They were great mentors for me. They showed me things I would have never thought I would have seen as a student. So I got to go and do interviews at prisons all over the state, things like that.
What was that like?
It was awesome. I mean, it was really cool, being able to kind of get to know people and clients and, some instances inmates as people, hearing their perspective, hearing their story, and really trying to help them get to that other side, trying to get over that hump. So it's been, I really liked it. I liked it a lot.
Rylee Valliere's with us, episode 125 of Hometown Threads on WILI, brought to you by Liberty Bank Be Community Kind. She's the prevention coordinator, right, of the Wyndham Prevention Coalition. Do you get into those crime shows too?
Yeah, sometimes. Me and my mom could always go for a Dateline.
What are your favorite? Dateline?
Yeah, we like Dateline. I've always liked Law and Order since I was in high school. So, but yeah, those are probably my top two favorites.
Okay. Did Dad ever? I forgot to go back to Mom and Dad first. Did they ever try to? Because I know your dad's a big sports. In fact, I think I've hooked him up with some Red Sox tickets. Big Red Sox fan. But did he try and get you to play sports? I know you said you played a little, right?
Yeah. Well, I played sports my whole life growing up. So my goal when I graduated high school was I was going to go play soccer in college. So all I wanted to do. And then, and then unfortunately in May of my senior year of high school, I was in a track accident, and I won Flex Wednesday. That's what they used to call them during COVID. And we had a first ever track meet for that spring, and I was practicing with my really good friend Rylee from high school. And I went over a hurdle and I tore my entire ACL. And I always say I tore my ACL, but I actually tore every ligament in my knee completely except my PCL. So it was a big transition after that. A lot of decisions needed to be made, a lot of that's why I kind of found UArt. It was like a blessing in disguise. I wasn't going to go there, and then I last minute had to make a decision.
Really? So you work on now that we're I'm sorry, we jump around a lot.
No, it's okay.
Hometown. It's only 25 minutes. And I always tell my guests, get ready, I'm going to jump around a lot. So where else did you apply besides UArt? Because you said you really didn't want to go to UArt in the beginning.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wanted to play soccer. So, my parents and I, we were looking at schools specifically kind of for soccer. So, but trying to key in that nursing piece. We looked up in Boston a few schools, New Haven area, but I didn't end up going, so it was frustrating. But you know what? I always, especially with my brothers too, it was a learning experience for all of us. My parents kind of sending us to college not on a sport, but on an education instead. Because when I was looking at schools, I was only looking at schools for soccer. I wasn't looking at schools for education purposes. So it was kind of like you live and you learn.
Absolutely.
It was meant to be the way it was, and I mean, hey, I'm not going to be in the MLS, so I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, so back to your question, though, I played sports my whole life. I did bitty ball. I actually stopped playing basketball in high school, so I played all the way from when I was little, all the way up to high school, and I stopped my sophomore year when my dad said that he was going to be going over to Eastern. I kind of was like, this is my way out, I loved basketball.
What year was that again, by the way, when your dad went over to ECSU?
My dad, I want to say that was 2018 maybe, because I was a sophomore in high school. So
do you guys go to those games? Sure, you go to those games.
Yep. We always go and support him. I mean, God, coaching and basketball has been like our life, our all growing up, especially baseball and basketball. But, when I was going through basketball as a kid, I was like, I loved it. But when I got to high school, I loved soccer, and I did it because it was me and my dad. It was something that's always been really important to my dad and I.
Did your dad play soccer too?
No, no, neither of my parents played soccer.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
All right, so back to Rylee.
No, it's okay.
No, so what did you, when you were graduating Eastern and you had some great, you're making your ways here and figuring out what you want to do and connecting with the Winter Prevention Coalition, were there other options that you were considering as well?
As for like volunteering and
yeah.
Well, I worked at the rec department, so I worked. So I worked at the rec department. I just finished up my last summer there this past summer, so I was at the rec department consistently since high school. So I want to say my sophomore year of high school. So since I was about like 15, I worked at the rec department. Obviously, when I went off to college and before we got our rec center, we didn't have consistent programming like we do now. But I was a part of, all of the events, the Boombox Parade, the Halloween Trick or Treat on Main. So I was always a part in that way. And then when we got the center and I transferred back, I worked there. So I finished up my last summer. My last year this past summer at our summer camp, but that's really what I was doing before I found the Winter Prevention Coalition.
Okay. Now, you've been with Winter Prevention Coalition for about a year now, right?
Yeah, working as a prevention coordinator, about a year.
Tell us how that role's been going so far.
It's been going really well, really well. So
what's exactly your role with that?
So I do a lot of the programming, so it really is just mostly Karen and I. We work out of the Human Services Department for the town, and we have someone else on our team, Leah Pacheco. She graduated from Wyndham Tech. She's our youth peer advocate, my former role. And for the most part, I do a lot of the programming. So I run our youth council. So that's a group of middle school and high school students. Those are the kids that are at Drug Take Back Day. We do a lot of programming. We did our food drive. We do things like that. A lot of outreach in the community, helping out the schools, helping out families and kids that may have substance use disorders, may need help with resources or treatment. Finding those resources for them is our main role and duty as our group, and we work really, really hard to try to be there for whoever we can, in any way we can. And Karen has been a great mentor in showing me just how to do that. So sometimes I don't always have the answer, but Karen has done a really good job at showing me how to find.
She seems like such a warm individual that
she would
work with you, and if you have any questions, and she seems like she's she seems like she'd be a perfect person to as you said, mentor. She'd be great to take you under your wing. So
she's been awesome. So I'm really appreciative.
Did I hear a rumor? I don't want to put you on the spot. Is she retiring?
She is, yeah. Yep.
Okay. So where do you see the future of Wyndham Prevention Coalition, Rylee Valliere?
So I think, right now we're looking at future programming where we can kind of distribute our materials into schools and the community and things like that, so the community and the families have better access to those things. So, hoping that we can kind of continue our youth council at least, coming the end of our grant this coming June, beginning of July. So I think, our main goal is to try to get programming into schools. We do a program called Catch My Breath, which is about vaping prevention and vaping awareness for kids.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so we've done that presentation at some of our elementary schools and middle school.
Do you actually do the presentations?
Yeah,
or do you have people explain how that goes?
Yeah, so both Karen and myself, we go to the school. We have the presentation and the program already with us. So we present that program to the school. It's about a 4-day curriculum. So we go into the school for about 45 minutes a day with the class. Oh. And the parents give them permission to be able to learn about the topic, and we just talk a lot about the harms of vaping, the misconceptions about what things, or the not misconceptions, the advertising to youth, things like that. So just so kids and parents and teachers especially are aware of the things they're seeing in the schools and addiction and how serious it is, even unfortunately at like a middle school level. So
these are hot topics of today, especially with kids. And this is why the Winter Prevention Coalition is so very important. How about, I would like you to speak more about the WPC, but if there are other schools or how do they reach out to you to set something like this up?
Yeah, so anybody from the schools, the Wyndham Public Schools, can reach out to, we have really good contact with them to be able to reach out to either Karen or myself, and we always set up a time to be able to come into the school. The parents, again, sign permission slips, and we'll be able to go in and present. We just had a meeting with our superintendent, and we are looking to do that within the next few months, go into some of the schools that are, of high need based off of what the principal thinks is appropriate. So, we're always looking to do presentations on that sort of thing. Now, again, as a young person myself, I've been around during the times of don't talk about it, because then they'll do it. When really, studies have shown that the more you talk about it, the less they do it.
Hey,
so it's really
point.
about bringing awareness and not trying to shove things down people's throats as, we get a lot. So
I think you're like the perfect person for this. You're 22 years old.
Yeah.
And you said something just a few seconds ago, or a minute or so ago, that just struck me. Middle school? Some of this stuff goes on at middle school?
Yeah,
God.
Some of this stuff goes on at the elementary school level. So unfortunately, that's just the reality of it. Wow. And, it goes from a lot of different things. You never really know what people are going through, even kids. So I always tell people, as I'm very new to the world of prevention, so me being young and being new, one thing I've really tried to stick firm is what is prevention, and the way I've described it myself now is prevention is not always about trying to not get people to stop using substances, but it's about what are their healthy habits, what is going on in their life that they are using substances. So you really have to talk about that mental health piece too, especially with kids.
Seems like you'd be a great mentor, and I'm sure you are to many young kids.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So in the closing minutes here, where could people contact you or Karen, or how can they contact you if they want to, if they have an idea for a program or they'd like you to come speak? And how do people go about contacting you or Karen?
Yeah, so you can always email us. My email is rvalliere, Valliere, at wyndhamct.gov. You can always email us. You can always find us on social media, Wyndham Prevention Coalition. Always reach out via email or call us, either or. So that's the main way.
All right, as we wrap things up with Rylee Valliere in episode 125, I know you probably have a ton of people to thank, but once in a while I throw this out to my guests. Who are some people you'd like to show love to and thank on what's been an incredible journey for you so far? And you're only 22. And before you answer that, so that's the first question, I got to squeeze this one in real quick too. You're only 22, and you're obviously off to a great start at the Wyndham Prevention Coalition. What else could you see yourself doing way down the road?
I ask myself this question every day. So
to be 22 again.
I don't know. I mean, I've done a lot of different things so far to try out, different populations of people where I best fit. I always said up until my last year of college that I don't think I could work with kids, and that has really changed, and I think that if there's any sort of job that I could have, it's hopefully being able to give back to somebody in some way, So if that's some sort of community outreach job, I think, right now I'm looking at jobs like, probation, DCF, school related maybe, but I'd like to do something social work, maybe with kids. So.
I can totally see that. Yeah. All right, now back to the final question. Who are some people you like to show love to and give thanks to? What's already, you're on your way to, it's already been a great journey, and you're only 22.
I think, obviously my parents and my brothers, my family has always been my biggest cheerleaders. So no matter what it is that I'm doing, if it's a small little ceremony at school to my college graduation, they're always there. I can always count on them. So my family for sure.
It always comes back to sports. She said cheerleader. So.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's been my whole life. So that's it.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for supporting us in our gigs. And it's great to set this up back at National Drug Take Back Day. Rylee Valliere of Wyndham Prevention Coalition, Prevention Coordinator, our guest for episode 125 on Hometown Threads, 14 WILI 95.3 FM, Willimantic Today Facebook, and WILI on YouTube. Big thanks to Liberty Bank, B Community Kind, Tripoli Pro Clean Services, J. Matt Rupar. And thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. In the words of the great Roddy McCumber,
bye for now, folks. Bye for now.
And that concludes another edition of Hometown Threads. Got a story for Keith? Reach out to him on Facebook by searching Keith C. Rice, or email him at krice@hallradio.net. Don't forget to tune in next week on 14 WILI and 95.3 FM, as well as the Willimantic Today page on Facebook.